¡Wilson! ¡Lo siento! ¡Lo siento, Wilson!
Hello guys, hello friends, welcome back to the channel. BetterKM2 here. Today we need to talk about something that is slowly but surely breaking the balance of the world of tanks. We aren't talking about RNG or cheat or something else. We are talking about the new RS line and their so-called heat-guided damage system. On paper, they look interesting. In reality, they are turning the game into a nightmare. And in this video, I will explain how their mechanics works, why they are fundamentally overpowered, and how they are damaging the core gameplay of World of Tanks. Let's get into it. In an old video, when the RS tank line was first released, I said that these tanks would destroy light tanks and that light tanks wouldn't be able to roam freely anymore. I thought the penetration values of this new line would be very low, but that wasn't the case. With this tank, you have the power of the inflict damage even on the heaviest tank. You are like a normal medium tank, but a medium tank that can constantly fire, dealing 600 or 800 damage initially, and then becoming a normal medium tank. That is the problem. They deal very high alpha damage at the start of an engagement, but unlike classic autoloaders, they do not disappear after unloading. In World of Tanks, there has always been a balanced rule. You can have high burst damage but long reload, or continuous damage but low alpha. RS tanks break this rule. They start with around 700 or 800 damage instantly, and then they keep shooting. They stay active. They never truly drop out of the fight. So instead of choosing between burst damage or sustained damage, RS tanks get both. That is the first big problem. Let's compare them with traditional autoloaders like T-57 Heavy or auto reloaders like Karo 65 style tanks. These tanks unload their magazine in about 8 or 10 seconds and they deal roughly 1200 or 1400 total damage. Then they go into 20 or 30 seconds of reload. During that reload, they are actually hiding, repositioning, or waiting helplessly. This is the price they pay for burst damage. Now, look at the RS tanks. They hit you for 800 damage immediately, but instead of entering a long reload, they continue dealing damage. They keep pressure on you. They never fully disengage. So, the fight looks like this. Traditional autoloaders, they have big damage, but they have long downtime, risk, and counterplay. RS tanks have big damage and continuous pressure and no downtime. This removes one of the most important balance mechanics in World of Tanks: punishment windows. So let me explain why this is so dangerous for gameplay. In classic World of Tanks logic, if an autoloader fires its magazine, you think, okay, now I can push. Against RS tanks, you never get that moment. There is no, now it's safe. You get hit for 800 damage, and then more damage, and then more damage. In this kind of situation, you just have to push and push and push. And by the way, you will continue to have damage and damage and damage. You have to try to kill him for 40 seconds and you have to take damage again and again and again, and you can shoot maybe 6 times maximum. That is the problem. Without a clearer reload window, the opponent cannot punish, cannot push, cannot trade properly. This creates unfair corridor control, broken 1 versus 1 fights, and extreme dominance in choke points. The psychological effect is also huge. Players stop playing aggressively, they stop taking risks, they stop pushing. So when players stop making decisions, the game stops being tactical. So I think this new tank line RS line, damages, balance, and meta. World of Tanks has always been about trade-offs. Firepower versus reload, armor versus mobility, burst versus consistency. RS tank line remove trade-offs. They combine high alpha, sustained damage, consistent battlefield presence. That means they dominate pushes. They punish mistakes too hard. They invalidate many other tank roles. Instead of choosing a tactical tool, you get a do-everything weapon. That is not balance. That is power creep. And power creep always kills variety. And imagine, you have an enemy team which has 3 RS. What can you do? So, as final summary, RS tanks are overpowered, I think, because they deal damage like autoloaders, but without autoloader downtime. They stay active permanently, they deny counterplay, they force passive gameplay. Normally, autoloaders deal 1200 damage and disappear for 20-25 seconds, but RS tanks deal 800 damage and keep fighting. That is why they are dangerous, oppressive, and unhealthy for the game. So the big question is, should a tank have both burst damage and sustained damage at the same time? In my opinion, no, because when one tank does everything, every other tank becomes pointless. So, my friends, if you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like, subscribe for more balanced analysis, and write in the comments, do you think RS tanks are overpowered or they are just normal tanks? See you in the next video. Take care and bye bye. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe. See you.